Okay, my name is Tupac Shakur, and I attend Tamalpais High School, and I'm 17 years old. I think that we got so caught up in school being a tradition that we stopped using it as a learning tool, which it should be. That's where I think they messed up. There should be a class on drugs. It should be a class on sex education, a real sex education class, not just pictures and diaphragms and unlogical terms and things like that. There should be a drug class. There should be sex education. There should be a class on scams. There should be a class on religious cults. There should be a class on police brutality. There should be a class on apartheid. There should be a class on racism in America. There should be a class on why people are hungry, but they're not. There are classes on gym, physical education. Let's learn volleyball, because one day we're gonna, there are classes like algebra, where I've yet to go to a store and said, can I have X, Y plus 2 and give me my Y change back, thank you. I think you could let me out. I've lived alone by myself, and the things that helped me were the things that I learned from my mother and from the streets, and reading has helped me. I mean, school has taught me reading, which is, I love. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's it. Like foreign languages. I think they're important, but I don't think it should be required. Because actually they should be teaching you English and then teaching you how to understand double talk, politicians double talk, not teaching you how to understand French and Spanish and German. When am I going to Germany? I can't afford to pay my rent in America. How am I going to Germany? This is what I mean by the basics and not the basics for me. And I think that it should be like college. You can go and take the classes that you want. And I think that like elementary school should be that way, where they give you the classes you should take for the basics. And then junior high school and high school should be the classes that you need in order to choose your path.
So do you feel like schools are not really listening to the kids' needs?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
It's just kind of a place where you go to, but it's become such a tradition. They're not even concerned if you're learning. It's just something you have to do.
It's just a place you go during the day to keep you busy while they're at work. I mean, ancient civilizations have survived without going to schools like this. I mean, they've learned from their parents. We're not being taught to deal with the world as it is. We're being taught to deal with this fairyland, which we're not even living in anymore. And it's sad, because I'm telling you, and it should not be me telling you. It should be common knowledge. Aren't they wondering why death rates are going up and suicide is going up and drug abuse? Aren't they wondering? Don't they understand that more people are, more kids are being handed crack than they're being handed diplomas? I mean, it shouldn't, okay, in school we're learning to analyze, and then, well, I learned it, now they should relearn it. I think adults should go through school again. I think that rich people should live like poor people and poor people should live like rich people, and it should change every week. And we'll have the best rounded people, we'll be able to deal with people. Everywhere. Look at civilizations, look how we grew. And I think we need to learn from our mistakes and stop just going through emotions, which we're doing now. It's like we're waiting for some big button to be pushed or something like that. Well, as it is, and it's honestly, I feel this way, but society is like it's like, those little things they have for the mice where they go through around a circle and there's little blocks for it and everything. Well, society is like that. They'll let you go as far as you want, but as soon as you start asking too many questions and you're ready to change, boom, their block will come. And for me, and I hope this doesn't start anything, but for me, since I'm living in a slummish area and I'm black, mine will come through being a statistic. I'll get caught up in all of this, and one day I'll be with my friends and they'll go, let's go out party. We don't have a car. Let's steal a car. Forget it. Let's just borrow a car. We'll steal a car and I'll go to jail for 16 years and come out and be bitter. Knowing all of this, saying all of this, but be bitter, And it should be, like the past elections, watching Jesse Jackson run and watching Dukakis run. Those two people, Jesse Jackson and Dukakis, two people who I thought were there it is. I said, all right, finally we're going to get a better America. But what happened? Bush won. I couldn't believe it, because every time I asked people, who would you have voted for? And they were like, it was Dukakis. But how did Bush win? I keep wondering. And then that just makes me rebel more against society because it's supposed to represent the people. I don't want Bush in government. I spent 8 years of my 17 years on this earth under Republicans, under Ronald Reagan, under an ex-actor who lies to the people, who steals money, and who's done nothing at all for me. And I don't think Bush is a bad person or a bad president, because for the upper class, he's a perfect president. And that's how society is built. The upper class run it while we talk about it. I mean the middle class and lower class, we talk about it. And for the working class, we're just lost. We're going through the motions. We're the worker bees. And they get to live like royalty. But they're even with children, there are classes. Like even at TAM, there's the lower Marin City class. There's the low white class, the lower white class. There's the middle class white class and the middle class black class, and there's the middle class. There's the upper class white and upper class black, and that's a shame that that has to be cut in so many pieces, because it all boils down to this one piece of money. That how can this is a big question and no one's been able to answer it, and this is staggering. How can Reagan live in the White House, which has a lot of rooms, and there'd be homelessness, and he's talking about helping homelessness? This is what I mean about practicality. All right, if there's someone homeless in Washington, D.C., if there's homelessness, and he has the White House, which has 1,000 rooms, why can't he take some of them people off the street and put them in his White House? Because he doesn't want to get dirty. The White House would be a little tainted, and when his rich people from Jamaica and everything comes to see him, they'll be, oh, these people, you know? And that's dumb. He wants to build houses and everything. Let him stay in the White House. All those rooms are not being used. Then he'll have people from the streets to help him make with his ideas. I mean, these people that are homeless have done things. They haven't been homeless forever. They've done things in society. They've done things. They've had jobs before, and they've done things. They've worked hard. There should be an automatic. They get a house somewhere and live comfortably. There are things they can do. You know, and I think that's wrong. I think that's really bad. 3 years in Baltimore, my high school years, going to the School of Performing Arts. Then, before that, I was in New York. That's where I grew up. That was my total growing up part. We moved out of New York because because of my mother's choices, you know, and she couldn't keep her job because of her choices, because it was too much. Yeah, no, she was calm now. I mean, it was totally calm, but it was like they figured out who she was, and she couldn't keep a job. That should be illegal. So she lost her job, and of course, we were like stranded in New York. And yeah, so we're stranded in New York. So we moved to Baltimore, which was total ignorance town to me, because it gets me upset to talk about it. Baltimore has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy, the highest rate of AIDS within the black community, the highest rate of teens killing teens, and the highest rate of teenage suicide, and the highest rate of blacks killing blacks in Baltimore, Maryland. And this is where we chose to live. So as soon as I got there, being the person I am, I said, no, I'm changing this. So I started a Stop the Killing campaign, and safe sex campaign, and AIDS prevention campaign, and everything. And then I came back, and I felt like I did a lot of good. I did good things and everything. Came back. The second week I was in California, I got a call, and 2 of my friends were shot dead in the head. 2 of the friends that were working with me shot dead in the head. And it's just like, why try? Because this is what happens. But I still try, you know? And I came to California to escape that violence that I escaped New York for. Then I went to Baltimore, escaped Baltimore for, came to California. Come to Marin City, and there's skinheads violence. There's racial violence, which I deplore. I can't stand racism in any form, shape, or color. I can't stand it. So what I did was I talked to people and everything, and what happened was TAM is really integrated. So there was a party, and it just happened that it was a white girls' party, and everybody goes. It doesn't matter. And there's racism, but it's not like that. You know, we understand each other, and we're children, and we're able to talk to each other about it. So everybody went to this party, and I was working, and I was going to go to the party right after I got off work, me and my friends. So we got off work, we're on our way to the party, we're laughing and joking, just going through, and we see our friend Jonas, who's white, and he's telling us there was a fight at the party. And I was like, what happened? He said the skinheads came, and called the black people niggas and made them, said they had to leave, and of course it was fight. I was like, oh my God. So we were sitting there, they went home, we were sitting there talking and everything, and my friends was just like, this couldn't happen in the 60s, you know, let's figure out what to do. And he just said, I know, we'll start the Black Panthers again. So we're starting the Black Panthers, but we're doing it more to fit our views, you know, less violent and more silent, you know, more knowledge to help. You know, what we really want to do is get the pride back in the black community, because I feel like if you can't respect yourself, then you can't respect your race, then you can't respect another's race, then you can't respect, you know, it just has to do with respect, like my mother taught me. So what we're doing is starting the Black Panthers again in Marin City, just getting first teaching pride, and then teaching education, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And also as a defense mechanism for the skinheads, because that's wrong, and I hate to feel helpless. And so skinheads hate black people, and I'm gonna be there. I have this vision of just us growing and them decreasing, because that's how knowledge works. It's contagious, you know. And so if there was war and peace, peace wins out. So I just want to form it and let it work. And I know the skinheads are gonna go like this. So, and I want to take, you know, I just want to learn from my mistakes. And I'm talking to a lot of the ex-members of the Panthers from the 60s, and they're helping me because they're less violent. They're, you know, they've learned. So, and they did a lot of good things in the past, and we can do a lot of good things. So since my mother was an ex-Panther, and talking to Geronimo Pratt and a lot of ex-minister defenses and everything, so we're going to do a lot of good. I feel like we're going to do a lot of good.
There has been a reversal and a lie going on that tries to cover up the biological records of what the man who has hue, or human, people of color, what your true biological potentials are. The eye of Horus, as it is defined in the pyramid text, and the eye of Horus as it is defined in the coffin text. The pyramid text, or the text of ancient Egypt, dating from the time of the Old Kingdom, 3000 BC to about 2200 BC, or roughly almost 5,000 years ago. The coffin text, or the Middle Kingdom text, roughly about 2200 to about 1800 or so BC. That's the middle period. So these are the religious texts in which we find that Africans had talked about melanin under the heading of the word Kim, K-M. What does Kim mean? It means black. And as Carol Bourne in this book did make known, that the study of chemistry, study of Chem black, is really the study of blackness. In particular, the study of organic chemistry. The study of those chemicals that contain large amounts of the atom known as carbon, C-A-R-B-O-N. Carbon, the same atom that makes up diamond earrings, diamond rings, crystalline form, but in its more liquid form, it is blackness. Logical record of blackness as it operates in biological systems, from before birth, from conception, all the way through the gestation in the mother's womb and the birth thereafter. We could show blackness in every life stage. You could not even be conceived without melanin. No way. This is true of not only blacks, Asians, and browns. It's true of mammals, higher primates, advanced mammals, lower mammals, amphibians, reptiles, birds, fish. Any animal that has a backbone has the same pattern. And why is that the case? Because melanin is God's felt point pen. Melanin sets up electromagnetic gradients, or lines of force, by which, as the cells develop, they migrate along these lines, just as you might have a blueprint, and station themselves along the lines of these electromagnetic fields. So melanin is the blueprint drawer in any living animal that has a backbone. There have been pigment cell conferences held every 2 to 4 years, starting in the late 1940s, in which scientists from around the world, in particular South Africa, they had a ready supply of black bodies to do their horrible cleavage work. And probably that's not unique to South Africa. Probably we can look at what happened in jail systems here in these states, and it's no different. But we notice that the research does not fit the political agenda. So when you go through these research journals, you have to be aware that people are writing in ways that they will try to pull information out. But then you as a black person have a responsibility to make it applicable to your people. They will not, for example, tell you that yes, there are hormonal differences in black people as compared to white. They will not tell you that black folks tend to have lower white blood cell counts because of the difference in the level of the secretion of adrenal steroids. That will not be mentioned. They will not talk about the differences that occur in terms of other hormones. That will not be discussed in elaborate detail at all. They talked very heavily about chem. They spoke about what? When you speak about going into the study of melanin, and in particular you pay attention to the study of the pineal gland. What is the pineal gland? The pineal gland is a gland present in all humans. And again, most animals with a backbone. This is a gland that's present right in the center of the head. It is known as the third eye. It is a gland that's referred to in the East Indian literature as the third eye. But Africans called it what? They called it the eye of Horus. That Africans had studied the science of the mind so strong and so sweet that they had not only discovered the location of the soul, but the neurochemistry of the soul and its relationship to blackness. The African true science of neuropharmacology, without all this fanfare and cover-up. So going further, we find these kind of things. We find that the pineal gland, again, was the name of the eye of Peru. We find that in the pyramid text and coffin text, over 100 references to the eye of Peru. It says that the eye of Peru is present in the forehead, and it rises up as thy father Ra, the sun, passes overhead. Meaning what? Something in the forehead is turned on by the sun. That was 3,333 years before Axelrod and Workman rediscovered the pineal gland was an active gland, producing a unique enzyme called HIOMT. But notice further, it said that the pineal, that there were blue eyes, green eyes, and red eyes, and black eyes of Peru. And that it was possible to rise, and that the mission was to rise up with your eye of Uru to the heavens and to become a star. Not a Hollywood star on Hollywood Boulevard. That's not the star they're talking about. But a star in terms of the cosmos. They envision these kind of very strong powers. We find furthermore that the pineal gland is a gland that produces two major hormones. One during daylight, another one during nighttime. Fulfilling our own true purpose in life, whatever our spiritual mission might be. So we have the noonday sun Kepler. The rising sun Kepler, noonday sun Horus and Hutep, the setting sun of Tumu. Now Tumu is another common, a very powerful concept. Tumu, the god of the setting sun. Tumu was said to be the first human to be worshipped as a god. Tumu was said to be the first man So in other words, Tamu is the correct name for the original Adam, not Adam. That's the name we use for our own concept of Adam. It was the name Tim or Tamu. Now these various concepts of light indeed were considered in terms of the pineal gland or the eye of Peru. Let us consider one other aspect, and that has to do with the concept of the moon. A very critical thing, because when does the pineal hormone melatonin operate? During darkness. And I submit to you, brothers and sisters, that part of our enslavement, mental slavery, the oppressor knows who you truly are. He knows he can't compete. That's known. As long as they practice certain negative conditions, can't compete. But they're hung up on practicing certain negative conditions. They love it too sweetly. Come to this thing about moonlight. Notice the story. The god of moonlight is Tahuti, or Thoth. And Tahuti's primary companions, female companions, are the goddess Maat and the goddess Seshet. All three of these principles relate to states of mind, states of genius mind. The god Tahuti, or Thoth, was considered the perfect image of a super genius mind. Notice what that's saying. That Africans knew that inside of their own being, there was a part of them that was a god. Not a guess, but a reality. And it was a super genius quality. That meant that every African has a part of them which we call that special black factor. You see, the oppressor knows there's a little u and the big U. And here is a key point of the game. A key point of the game is to hypnotize Africans and to make them only believe that the little self is the only real one. And to dismiss the big self as fantasy. Too good to be super. Nothing super, that's just regular stuff. Africans called it the Ka factor, the soul factor. It was this thing that was freed up by living a virtuous life and studying science. So the oppressor's game is to hide images of black excellence, of mental function. When a black person like Michael Jordan plays basketball and shows great skills, they say, oh, it's what? Instinct. It's automatic. He didn't think it through. It's instinct. What is that trying? They're trying to hide. No, it's not instinct. He spent years and years of hard, diligent study and work. When it comes to a person like George Washington Carver, they do not want to talk about him at all. Why? Because George Washington Carver was the greatest living chemist on the planet in probably the past 10,000 years. But how did George Washington Carver become that? Did he go to Harvard? No, George Washington Carver led an ethical life and studied science and nature. In particular, George Washington Carver got up early in the morning while the sun was still down and went out in nature and held communion and conversation with the invisible realm. Meaning what? If you want to if you want to embrace your higher mind, you have to do it at a certain time in a 24-hour day cycle. It's scientific. In other words, you catch it at a time when your melatonin level is already reached its peak level, that is midnight, and then shortly before daybreak, when the other deities are out there willing to converse with you. So let's say George Washington Carver could ask questions of his mind, say, I want to know this, and plant, what do you have to tell me? And then he could hear the plant talk back to him and tell him the chemical formulas and secrets. He was having a conversation with nature. Because George Washington Carver, just like you and I, are children of nature. I'm not out here trying to conquer nature. Why should I conquer my mother? Why should I conquer my father? They love me. And they've given me a mission here to do on earth. And if I'm true to it, I am blessed profoundly. And if I'm lazy, I get a little tight in the nut. But I'm still loved. But nonetheless, Tahuti, again, during the darkness phase, was the perfect image of a super genius mind. And it said that there were 42 negative confessions that one had to practice, or that you did not do certain things. So when you went to the Judgment Day, and Judgment Day is not just at death. Judgment Day occurs every day. Because when we go to sleep at night, our super genius mind leaves our physical bodies, goes to the judgment hall, and gives a report to the ancestors. Ancestors say, do you qualify for some more information, or should you get a spanking today? You want to wake up depressed, or do you want to wake up feeling glorious? Are you willing to be adventurous and humble, or are you going to be arrogant and foolish? So again, this living relationship with the invisible realm takes place every day, not just at death. When you go to sleep, sleep is a kind of death, but so is a waking up, a rebirth. Now, very importantly, the goddess Ma'at was considered what was true, what was real. You know, in today's world, there's no such thing as reality. There is, they say you have the uncertainty principle. You can't weigh it and measure it at the same time. That's somebody else's formulations of nature, not ours. We said there was a right way and a wrong way. There was a right course for the sun to travel across the sky, and the right way for light to enter into your eye, a right way for you to your family, a right way for you to find your mission in life, a right way to live. And Ma represented that. And she was the goddess, the chief judge in the hall of Mati, where there were 42 gods, and one had to face these 42 gods in the judgment phase when one passed into that realm on a daily basis and at the end of a cyclical basis. A last point, the goddess Seshet was considered to be the goddess of the Hall of Books. So again, all of these mental factors seem, from the African point of view, to be tied to the nighttime phase, the phase of darkness, that phase in which a person was actually in contact with their own God potential inside the core of their own minds. And again, they were doing so with a sound eye of Haru and using powerful chemical keys to unlock the doorway to their inner mind.
I loved my childhood, but I hated growing up poor, and it made me very bitter. You know, it's like, all right, now I got a job. I had to quit now. I had a job, and just today I got paid, and I have money in my pocket that I worked for, and that the greatest feeling, you know, that I worked for. I'm just getting a job, and I'm working and everything, and that feels good. But I'm still poor. You know, my family is still poor. I'm still living in a poor neighborhood. You know, I still see people poor. I still see things that, like, society, this is supposed to be a melting pot, but no one's learning from the other's mistake. And that's where the tragedy comes. Because if we were all open and everything, we would learn from, like, in Marin City, I've seen already deaths. I mean, this lady slashed a man's throat because he spit on her kids. And I've seen teenagers fighting last night over girls, and I've seen guys speak to women with this much respect, and I deplore that. My mother is just totally, I grew up, my mother raised me, so I have this much respect for women, and I fight often because of that, and it gives me a lot of friends. I mean, I get a lot of friends but I get a lot of friends because I have respect for women, ultra respect for women, But then, like I was liking this girl in Tam, and I'm extra nice, you know, extra gentleman. I'm extra just like, oh, you're beautiful and you deserve the best. And she told me I was too nice. I couldn't believe it. It wouldn't work because I was too nice. That was the ultimate stab in the back. So I went through a week of just going, forget it, I'm just gonna be like them. Because they seem to get the girls and they call girls the B word, you know, and they smack and beat and they're getting girls, and I'm going, peace, and I think you're beautiful, and they're going, well, I like him because he's masculine. I'm masculine. I mean, and with the guys, I'm trying, and like yesterday he was cursing, and I was like, don't curse, and he got mad at me because I told him not to curse. But my plan is that if I keep telling girls not to let them call you these names, and if I keep saying it, it's gonna catch on, because the girls won't allow them to be their boyfriend if they're gonna speak to them like that, and they're gonna want me. So in order to not get them to go with me, they're gonna have to change, and that's how they change. So I'll be the scapegoat, no problem, as long as it changes. So yeah, so I think it's gonna work. I think it'll work out and everything. But I always wanted to make a book out of my life, like a fairy tale, raised by the Black Panthers and strung out.